Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews, and we're talking about Black Clover Chapter 90. I was looking forward to this, I was waiting for this, I was anticipating this, and now we got it. And I'm happy. My week's more or less complete. I mean, the only thing that could really make my week a little bit better is if we had the 7 Deadly Sins and World Trigger, but this'll have to do. Brilliant chapter, like the ending, surprising. Let's get into it. So, the chapter was actually really good. Not because it had the most amazing fight and something really intricate happened. It wasn't one of those chapters. And I like the difference in style with this one because it seems the writer was trying something different in how he was telling the story, and I like that because it wasn't always about the fighting. It had fighting in it, majority was there, but there was a story to be told. Now, I'm sure by now you've seen the chapter. It came out at 6 PM Scandinavia UK time. I'm doing this at 7, so it's been out for a while, and I'm sure people will be checking this out hopefully when they get chance. Now, the chapter itself, you could go through all the chapter and pinpoint so many things, but I'm going to focus on a few key messages I found and I enjoyed. Number one, it's painting a picture of a Fanzel Kruger to be this really good guy. For the people that haven't seen him or haven't heard of him other than these chapters and not read the light novel, me being one of them, it does a good job in telling you more about him, and I think that's important because it's a big brave step to include something and make it canon where half your audience haven't heard of it. Albeit when it comes out translated I will look to buy it, which reminds me I will at some point be buying the volumes because I've got a few questions on the back of this, but I will do a video when I get them. It will be part of a Black Clover one and we'll get all excited at that time. Anyway, so the fact that they're looking into the past and we're really kind of exploring that is a really important thing for us non-light novel readers, and I really like that about this. And I've liked that about all these chapters. I am not going to complain. I like these chapters. Now, in comparison to the previous chapters, this seemed a little bit more exciting because of a few different things. Number one, let's talk about the past. Both Radros or Redals or Randals, whatever his name is, and Mars were his students. We know that. We saw a flashback. There's few things that we got told. Mars is the strongest of his students. Randall's didn't have an element. When we see later on in this, he does have a type of ability, but to use all types of abilities, all to absorb and repel. And his grimoire is patches. Keep that in mind. I'll talk about at the end with the theory of mine. And then he's able to propel and do all this crazy stuff. But the key difference in this chapter is to bearing in mind, although Fanzel Kruger told him use this for good, Randros, whatever you want to call him, did not want to do that. He just wants to be an evil shit. So for him to get effed up in any of these chapters moving forward, I would welcome that. That's number one. Now, then he does this attack, and then he basically attacks everyone, including his own people. And that for me goes against a lot of different things, because if this was One Piece, Luffy would want to kick his ass. If this was an army, the higher ups would want to kick his ass. There's so many things strategically is wrong in the fighting force if you are taking out your own people. There's something wrong there. And I think dealing with him now, because he looks basically like a psychopath, is basically something that needs to be done. His attack though was a wow. It was, what's it called, million laser or something was translated as, and he threw it everywhere. It literally looked like Super Boo when he was going crazy. It was very much a similar kind of thing. So that was cool. Then he tries taking out Domina and he says, oh yeah, it was your fault, you did it, and you caused him to go, and you're the important thing in his life, and he's trying to kill her. He is literally trying to kill her. And then who steps in? The man I've been talking about all these chapters, Mars, whatever he's called, the man of the hour, the man with the power, too sweet to be sour. He steps up and shows that the teachings, the feelings, everything that Fanzel Kruger wanted his students to embody, Mars is the guy to do that. And it's weird because we saw him earlier on, and I can't remember, bearing in mind it's quite earlier on, I can't remember any foreshadow for him potentially to turn good. But the one thing that stuck out for me back then was when he was talking about Fana and his dual abilities. Fana betrayed him, so he was loyal, so he has that loyalty about him. So maybe there are some good characteristics that I've forgotten. I will be buying the volumes. I will be officially reading the English translation very, very soon, and I will talk about that. But for me to see that in a person that's meant to be a bad guy was a real big shocker, a big eye-opener, and I was happy. Because I don't know if you look at the last few reviews I've been doing, and be thinking, okay, maybe Mars is going to come now. Maybe Mars is going to do this. The whole time it was about Mars, and now Mars has made his move twice in this chapter. It's interesting. The first thing was he made, while Fanzel is fighting Radros, or Radals, or Randals, whatever you want to call him, he says, this is as far as you go. And then we find out Mars was the strongest student for Fanzel Kruger. We find that out. And then Mars gets some distance between him and Mars, and then he carries on fighting, and then we find this ability. Maybe that was Mars's way of telling Fanzel that, listen, don't get fucking too close, sorry about my language, and then you'll find out. Maybe by distracting him, by keeping him further away, maybe that kind of saved Fanzel, I guess. And then when he couldn't save himself, Mars stepped in. So this for me is important, because if you can make a friend out of an enemy, that's a very precious friend indeed. Whether he's going to betray the whole kingdom is a different story, but maybe he's going to give a different perspective of what Diamond Kingdom's about. I wouldn't like to find out more. I am excited as hell. This, you can imagine, is 6 minutes, and I've been just going ham and getting excited. Now let's talk about theory. So one thing I want to talk about is how, number one, we are introduced to somebody that also didn't have an element of, it don't really say magic, but it says element, like the main character Asta. We look at his grimoire and his patches, so much like Mars, who is also patched up and he's got 2 elements. Now, Asta's grimoire is old, so it leads me to believe, because of the way remember his techniques, Randall's techniques is very similar to the swords, in that they can absorb and reflect, and one of them can and the other one can cut. But I think Diamond Kingdom have some knowledge of the book, that grimoire, and maybe a previous user or the last user before Asta came from that kingdom, and they're able to manipulate that for people that are non-elemental users. Because I think the actual grimoire is a representation of the magic, and I think the magic that the anti-magic comes from is probably one of the originals. So I think there may have been a time where there was magic and anti-magic, and that's how it started, and we have subsets based on that, and that's demon magic, and all these other magics come from the dark side, the non-magic, and all the good funky magic comes from the different elements. Because the whole yin yang effect is about light and dark, action reaction. For every act there's a react, counteract, balance, and I think Asta is the balance in this world, which makes sense considering he's going around acting, trying to be a good guy. So I think part of the puzzle is to find out what Diamond Kingdom know, because it seems to me if they could do something like that for Randalls who didn't have an element and give them the ability to absorb and reflect elements, they probably know something about the dark matter or the dark magic or the anti-magic that we, the audience, don't. But that's my opinion on that. That's a little theory I threw out there. And I'm hoping that over time we find out more about these grimoires and what they represent, and possibly some of the ancient magic, some of the curses, some of the hexes, and find out more about how ancient the original 5-leaf Black Clover is all about. Anyway, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. I was excited. I hope you are. As always, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about my video, what you thought about my theory and my jibber jabber as well. And I'll see you next time. As always, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace!